The first thing to disappear after a systemic collapse is not electricity, not fuel, not even food. It is predictability. When distribution networks fracture and replenishment stops, objects that once felt trivial suddenly become structural pillars of survival. History shows this pattern with ruthless consistency. In the aftermath of hurricanes, earthquakes, blackouts, wars, and economic crashes, the items that retain value are not the glamorous tools of doomsday fantasy. They are the overlooked low-cost instruments that quietly enable water safety, infection control, thermal stability, and communication. When supply chains halt, the metric of value shifts from market price to physiological leverage. The 7 items we are about to examine are cheap, widely available, and scientifically powerful. And when the grid goes dark and logistics freeze, they will be worth more than gold. Gold cannot purify water. Gold cannot seal a wound. Gold cannot create fire, sterilize surfaces, or preserve food. In every documented disaster response, from the 2005 landfall of Hurricane Katrina to the prolonged blackout of the 2017 Hurricane Maria aftermath in Puerto Rico, what determined survival was not wealth stored in vaults but access to practical consumables. Emergency management reports repeatedly confirm that secondary mortality after disasters comes from dehydration, infection, and exposure rather than from the initiating event itself. The public misunderstanding is that collapse means dramatic violence. The reality is slower and more clinical: contaminated water, untreated injuries, cold nights, spoiled calories. The hidden science is that human survival hinges on maintaining a narrow band of physiological stability. Small, inexpensive items that help maintain that band become priceless. The first item is water purification tablets. They cost almost nothing. They weigh almost nothing. And yet their chemical function is civilization in miniature. Most people assume boiling water is enough, and under ideal circumstances it is. But boiling requires fuel, containers, and time. In a fuel-scarce environment, those are strategic resources. Water purification tablets, typically iodine-based or chlorine dioxide, work through oxidative chemistry. They disrupt microbial cell walls, denature proteins, and inactivate viruses at the molecular level. The misunderstanding is that clear water equals safe water. In reality, pathogens such as Giardia, Cryptosporidium, and various enteric viruses are invisible and odorless. Epidemiological data from refugee camps and disaster zones show that diarrheal disease spreads rapidly when untreated water is consumed, and dehydration from diarrhea can kill faster than starvation. The hidden science lies in contact time and concentration. Chlorine dioxide tablets release a controlled dose of oxidizing agent that penetrates cyst walls more effectively than simple chlorine bleach. Studies in field conditions demonstrate significant reductions in protozoan and viral load when manufacturer guidelines are followed precisely. That precision matters. Underdosing allows survival of pathogens. Overdosing risks chemical irritation. The survival implication is stark. One small strip of tablets can render dozens of liters potable, breaking the feedback loop between contaminated water and illness. In a barter economy, the ability to guarantee safe hydration translates into immediate leverage. As municipal systems fail and pumps stop, untreated surface water becomes a biological hazard. Those who can chemically neutralize it will control not just their own health but community stability. The second item is common bleach, unscented sodium hypochlorite. It is inexpensive, ubiquitous, and chemically potent. Most households treat bleach as a cleaning product. In collapse conditions, it becomes a microbiological defense system. The danger after infrastructure failure is not dramatic infection but surface contamination. Without running water, waste disposal becomes inconsistent. Bacteria proliferate on contact surfaces. Food preparation areas become vectors. The misunderstanding is that visible dirt equals contamination. Microbial risk is statistical and invisible. Sodium hypochlorite works by producing hypochlorous acid in solution, which oxidizes cellular components of bacteria and viruses. Properly diluted, it can disinfect water, sanitize surfaces, and decontaminate tools. Evidence from field hospitals and emergency response protocols shows that diluted bleach solutions are standard for infection control when advanced sterilization equipment is unavailable. Concentration matters again, roughly 0.1% solution for surfaces, carefully measured drops per liter for emergency water treatment when tablets are unavailable. The survival implication extends beyond personal hygiene. In dense living conditions, shelters, shared housing, improvised camps, one infected individual can seed an outbreak. Bleach interrupts transmission chains. In a collapsed economy, preventing illness is more valuable than treating it, because antibiotics and medical care may be inaccessible. A gallon of bleach can protect dozens of people for weeks. Gold cannot do that. The third item is heavy-duty plastic sheeting. It is cheap, stackable, and routinely ignored. Yet from an engineering perspective, plastic sheeting is an environmental control device. Exposure kills quietly. When heating systems fail, hypothermia becomes a risk even indoors. Plastic sheeting traps convective heat loss by creating vapor barriers and reducing air exchange. It can seal broken windows, construct solar stills, collect rainwater, create improvised greenhouses, and form containment barriers. The misunderstanding is that insulation requires specialized materials. In fact, controlling airflow is often more critical than adding bulk insulation. Convection strips heat from the human body far faster than conduction in many indoor scenarios. Building science research demonstrates that air sealing significantly improves thermal retention even when insulation is minimal. After disasters in cold climates, improvised window sealing with plastic has reduced indoor heat loss dramatically. The hidden science is vapor pressure and airflow management. Moisture control prevents mold growth, which otherwise introduces respiratory hazards. Survival implication escalates here. Those who can maintain a marginally warmer and drier microenvironment conserve calories. Caloric conservation extends food supplies. Plastic sheeting transforms from packaging material into a thermal survival tool. The fourth item is a simple manual can opener. It seems almost absurd to rank this above precious metals, yet history proves otherwise. During prolonged blackouts, electric can openers fail. Many emergency food supplies consist of canned goods because of their long shelf life and pathogen resistance through thermal sterilization. Without a manual opener, calories remain inaccessible. The misunderstanding is that tools are secondary to food. But tools unlock stored energy. The hidden science lies in food preservation. Canned goods are sealed under heat to eliminate Clostridium botulinum spores. They are microbiologically stable for years. But access requires mechanical leverage. After natural disasters, relief agencies distribute canned food precisely because it resists spoilage. Field reports consistently note shortages of manual openers among affected populations. Survival implication becomes simple arithmetic, stored calories divided by days of accessibility. If you cannot open the container, the energy does not exist for you. In barter systems, a durable manual opener becomes a multiplier of available food resources across households. The fifth item is a basic lighter. Fire is controlled oxidation, and human civilization is inseparable from it. A lighter compresses ignition physics into a pocket device. The misunderstanding is that fire starting is primitive and easily improvised. In dry laboratory conditions, friction methods work. In wet, cold, wind-exposed environments, they fail repeatedly. Hypothermia risk rises exponentially when core temperature drops below 35 degrees Celsius. Fire provides radiant heat, dries clothing, purifies water, and boosts morale, an often overlooked physiological factor influencing decision-making. Butane lighters rely on pressurized fuel and piezoelectric ignition systems. They function reliably across a wide range of conditions when kept dry. Emergency survival data from cold exposure incidents show that rapid rewarming significantly reduces mortality. The survival implication is immediate. The ability to produce flame on demand conserves metabolic heat and reduces fuel expenditure compared to repeated friction attempts. As fuel stocks dwindle, ignition reliability becomes precious. The sixth item is duct tape. Often dismissed as a repair convenience, it is actually a structural improvisation material. The danger in collapse scenarios is cascading failure. A torn tarp becomes water intrusion. Water intrusion becomes mold. Mold becomes respiratory illness. Duct tape provides tensile strength, temporary sealing, wound stabilization when sterile materials are unavailable, and equipment repair. The misunderstanding is that durability requires permanent materials. In survival contexts, temporary stability is often enough to bridge to the next solution. Material science testing shows duct tape possesses substantial adhesive shear strength and moderate tensile properties. It bonds to diverse surfaces and can reinforce fractures in plastic containers, shoes, and shelter materials. The survival implication is redundancy. When supply chains are gone, repair replaces replacement. Each repaired object extends functional lifespan and conserves resources. The seventh item is common salt. In modern supermarkets, it is nearly free. After collapse, it becomes biochemical currency. Sodium chloride is essential for nerve conduction, muscle contraction, and fluid balance. In hot climates or during heavy labor, electrolyte loss through sweat can lead to hyponatremia or heat exhaustion. The misunderstanding is that salt is merely flavoring. In fact, it is a physiological regulator. Additionally, salt preserves food by creating osmotic pressure that inhibits bacterial growth. Anthropological evidence across civilizations shows salt routes and salt taxation as foundations of trade systems. In survival conditions without refrigeration, salting meat and vegetables slows microbial decay. The survival implication extends beyond personal health into food security. Preserved calories smooth seasonal scarcity and reduce waste. In a barter environment, salt facilitates preservation for others, multiplying its value. Each of these items shares a defining characteristic. They convert unstable environments into manageable systems. They leverage chemistry, physics, microbiology, and thermodynamics in compact, affordable forms. When supply chains collapse, the premium shifts from symbolic wealth to functional capability. The escalation is not hypothetical. Climate volatility, infrastructure fragility, and urban density amplify vulnerability. The transition from comfort to crisis can occur within days. And when it does, the metric of wealth will not be what glitters in a vault, but what quietly sustains respiration, hydration, temperature, sanitation, and calories. The next phase of collapse is not chaos. It is entropy. And the tools that slow entropy, no matter how cheap today, will define who stabilizes and who spirals.